Welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. Locksmith 2K here, coming at you full speed ahead with World of Warships gameplay and history. And we're going to be, give me just a minute here. We got to get everything set up and opened up. And Alright, I think we got everything ready here. Got to do a little refresh there, but we're ready to go now. So on this episode of World of Warships gameplay and history with me, Locksmith 2K, we are going to talk about something a little different. Instead of it being all about warships and all about the history of an individual warship or a class of warships, we're actually going to just go out and do some ranked battles. And while we are doing said ranked battles, we are going to discuss something that was very important to the evolution of the Navy in World War II, and that was the Washington Naval Treaty, as well as the London Naval Treaty, both of which shaped the navies of the world, so to say. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of history on the Washington Naval Treaty. Then we're going to take the Musashi out here and do a ranked battle, and then we'll come back in and go over a little bit more. So the Washington Naval Treaty had 5 signatory nations. It had the United States, Great Britain, France, Italy, and Japan. Now it was established as follows. Well, this is what their intention was the ratios of ships that everyone would have. And that ratio was 5 to 5 to 3 to 1.75 to 1.75. US, Great Britain, Japan, France, and Italy in that order. And basically that was the ratio of ships from one country to the next. So you can see that the United States had, the highest, and Great Britain also had the highest, followed by Japan, and then France and Italy. The Washington Naval Treaty posed a 10-year pause on battleship production for all 5 countries. And also outlined the scrapping of existing or planned capital ships to get them down to the ratio that was put forth in the Washington Naval Treaty. Naturally, Japan was not happy with any of this, and we'll get into that in a little bit, and France, of course, was not thrilled either. And we will touch more on that briefly. So first, we'll take the Musashi out. We're gonna go sink some ships in ranked battles. We're gonna have fun doing it. We're going to chit chat in the chat because that's what it's for, and we're gonna have a good night playing World of Warships. Let's get underway. So here we are in ranked battles, and let's see what they got for us. They got the Arsenal. We have a Jean Bart, a Frederick de Jord, a Kremlin, Hindenburg, Stalingrad, Shino Shimakaze, Smolensk, Gearing, and us on the Musashi. Interesting.
Affirmative.
Oh, also have an Iowa
Enemy force detected.
and an Audacious. I'm not sure. That must be British. All right. Let's put these 18-inch guns to work.
Enemy cruiser sighted.
Oh, we actually got him. 25-kilometer shot. We actually tagged him. That was great.
All stations, protect that target.
Shit.
All stations.
Sorry, bud.
Reporting the position of a strategic target. Roger.
I actually do really enjoy the ranked battles. They generally tend to be a little bit smaller, a little bit more in your face kind of battles, but you have to be a little bit more tactical with it because you're dealing with a much smaller force. You're working in a much tighter group. And smack. Eat him. We didn't lead it enough. I don't think we led that enough. Oh no. Oh no. Hang on. Watch out.
Enemy destroyer detected.
Well, we hit it.
All stations, requesting fire on the designated target. Roger. Enemy battleship sighted.
Equal in what, Scout? Teams on ranked battles?
Concentrate fire on the enemy warship. Enemy destroyer sighted. Acknowledged.
Yeah, they do tend to keep ranked battles a lot more even than anything else, and it's kind of what makes it so nice is everybody's kind of on an even playing field. The tier level of the ships is kept mostly even.
All stations, reporting the position of a strategic target. Acknowledged. Enemy battleship detected. Enemy cruiser sighted.
Hey, our guys got first blood. Awesome.
That was a great battle.
So yeah, under the Washington Naval Treaty, the British Empire was allowed 525,000 tons of battleships. So was the United States. Japan was awarded 315,000
Engage our support. All stations, concentrate fire on the target. Ship is on fire. Acknowledged.
tons. France was given 175,000 tons, and so was Italy.
Torpedoes to port. All stations, requesting fire on the designated target.
Alrighty then. Okay. Aircraft carriers were limited to 135,000 tons for the British and for the US, 81,000 tons for Japan, and 60,000 tons for Italy and France. Now, those may seem like pretty high numbers, but when you take into account, let's see. See if it gives the weight. Does not. So ships such as Musashi, I believe, weighed in excess of almost 70,000 tons by itself. I think. Um, or 30, something like that. As far as other ships were concerned, such as cruisers and destroyers, limit of 10,000 tons with a maximum of an 8-inch caliber gun was what was agreed upon. So you could have as many cruisers and destroyers as you wanted, as long as they were no bigger than 10,000 tons and had nothing over an 8-inch gun. As far as for submarines, nothing was discussed about submarines. Japan did not agree with the Washington Naval Treaty at all. They legitimately felt that it was unfair to them due to the fact of they did not have the industrial might to take on a country like the US or Great Britain in an arms race if a war were to escalate, and being that they were already outnumbered and could be easily outproduced, um, they pretty much decided it was unfair to them. And actually, in 1934, which I believe was part of the London Naval Treaty, they actually did give notice that they were not taking part in it, due to the fact of them being able to be outproduced. Now, France openly violated these treaties. They believed that the Anglo-German Naval Agreement of 35 countermanded the Treaty of Versailles by giving Germany back a navy, and thus they felt threatened by this. So they openly just built ships and everything and said to hell with it, basically. And they made no excuses. And when British authorities confronted them, they were basically told, well, you gave the Germans back their navy, so we want ours. A little bit of a messed up way to go about it, doing it, but hey, success. All right, awesome. Let's see what we got here. We have a container. We should go for more resources. Cha-ching. Ooh, got a bad advice. Let's go check it out. Oh, those guys at World of Warships are funny. All right. So we're gonna jump over. We're gonna take out a different ship because we want to spread the love around today. So we're gonna come over here to the Frederick de George. We have upgrades available. Cha-ching. I'll take it. All right. Let's see. All right. So, all right, we're gonna get ready to take the Frederick de George out. And while we're doing that, we are going to talk about what the treaty actually limited. And it limited the tonnage and construction of capital ships and aircraft carriers, and included size limits for these ships. So, capital ships, battleships, and battle cruisers were defined under capital ship, were limited to 35,000 tons, with guns no larger than 16 inches. Aircraft carriers were limited to 27,000 tons and can carry no more than 10 heavy guns of up to 8 inches. However, each signatory nation was allowed to use 2 existing capital ship hulls for aircraft carriers with a displacement limit of 33,000 tons each. We got a Musashi at 26 km. Don't think I'm going to be shooting at that with this ship this time. That's just a that's just a tad bit out of my range. I think the maximum range on this particular ship is yeah, main battery 18.5 kilometers. That's yeah. He's just a little bit out of my reach for now. We're gonna fix that in a minute. Also, for the purposes of the treaty, aircraft carriers were defined as a warship placing more than 10,000 tons constructed constructed exclusively for launching and landing aircraft, which basically meant the flight deck.
All stations, report
Carriers lighter than 10,000 tons did not count towards the tonnage limit.
Enemy battleship detected. Enemy cruiser detected.
Well, it looks like we're going to get a real good look at Musashi and Grosser Kurfürst and the Frederick de George, because all of them seem to be steaming right at us.
All
That is
stations,
not a spot you
reporting
want to be
the
in.
position of a strategic target. Enemy battleship detected. Enemy cruiser detected. Get back!
Why is my team throwing a fit for me to get back?
Retreat now! Concentrate fire on the enemy warship. Affirmative. Concentrate fire on the enemy warship. All stations, concentrate fire on the target. I need support. Enemy battleship detected.
Alright. And then basically after that, all the other warships were limited to 10,000 tons and 8-inch caliber guns.
Concentrate fire on the enemy warship.
Some of the keynotes there. Individual ships could be retained by each Navy, including allowance for the United States to complete 2 further ships of the Colorado class, and for the UK to complete 2 ships it was working on. guess my team's just gonna run off and leave me out here to dry. Okay. That was mighty neighborly of him.
Critical engine damage.
Of course.
Problem solved, sir. Enemy battleship detected.
Dodge him. Alright. Guess the Musashi went down. Huh. Focus our attention elsewhere.
Enemy cruiser sighted.
Rally.
The ship is on fire. Enemy battleship detected. Our team has taken the lead. Torpedoes to port.
Oh, that's gonna leave a dent. That left a bigger dent. And, oh, maybe? Maybe? Grr. Oh, that was tight. Alright, we got this as long as we all survive.
Reporting the position of a strategic target. Acknowledged.
He's gonna go hide. He's out of range. Moskva just biffed it. Their carrier is way out of range. So let's see if we can't get this guy back. Oh, he scored a couple of hits. Yeah, we got this. Nice. Got us some flags. Did we get a container? We got a super container. What did we get? We got a wargaming super container. Looks like. Just got some premium time in it, as well as some flags, and then we got a regular container as well. We're gonna do a try your luck on that. Hey, all right, we got two. Nice. It said we got the torp fish too. Oh, that may have been a duplicate. Let's see. No, it was a patch. That's what it was. Here. There it is. Okay. The another part of the Washington Naval Treaty detailed what was to be done with other ships that were considered ineffective for military use. Some of them, a limited number, were allowed to be converted into targets or training vessels if their armament and armor were removed. Some could also be converted into aircraft carriers as long as they fit the aircraft carrier specific critique. Yeah. and all the United States lost 30 ships that it had to scrap. Britain lost 23, and Japan lost 17. So who all's out there tonight? Sound off. I think Scout's still with us. I think she's in and out though. Something, yep, signal. Uh, see, we got one person watching over on Twitch. I don't see anybody on YouTube tonight. Doesn't mean you're not there, just means I don't see you. If you're there, welcome aboard. If you're just tuning in, welcome aboard. And let's take the Buffalo out and put her through some paces tonight. Alright, so moving along, we're going to take, oh, I'm a little quiet tonight, but doing some serious stuff here.
Good luck, everyone.
Yeah, we can stay away from that. Yamato will be fine with me. Moskva we can handle. Hindenburg.
Enemy battleship detected. Enemy destroyer sighted.
was more concerned about. These guys ain't messing around. Welcome back, Scout. Did you get it working? Did you get it sorted out? I know you're there. Not you, Scout.
All stations requesting fire on the designated target. Roger. Enemy destroyer sighted.
So basically, where we're at here is Washington Naval Treaty really kind of cut down what everybody could have to a degree. It got rid of mainly battleships and limited aircraft carriers, and then considered everything that was not a battleship or an aircraft carrier to basically be a ship and just could not be over X sized. Now, the London Naval Treaty did something a little different. It actually went in and broke everything down line by line, uh, and is actually a basically a continuation of the Washington Naval Treaty. Um, so we are going to get ready to take the Fletcher out, and then we are going to come back and discuss. Uh, so how's everybody doing? I see we still got some people in chat with me. Hope everybody's having a good time. I hope they're enjoying the information here. It is kind of dry information, but really, when you stop and think about it, these treaties is what made what we saw in World War II. This is what made them.
Roger. Acknowledged. I need help. By thunder. sir. Concentrate fire on the designated target. All stations requesting fire on the designated target. All stations, concentrate fire on the target. Roger. That's how it's done. All stations, reporting the position of a strategic... Roger. All stations, requesting fire on the designated target.
All right. So, London Naval Treaty, or at least the first one. There was actually two. Under the terms of the London Naval Treaty, basically it defined a standard displacement for all submarines, which was restricted to 2,000 tons, and every major power was able to keep 3 of up to 2,800 tons, and France was able to have 1. The caliber of guns on submarines were also restricted to 6 inches, with the exception of a already constructed French submarine that was allowed to retain its 8-inch gun. It also established a distinction between light cruisers and heavy cruisers, defining basically one as 6-inch guns and the other as 8-inch guns. And then it imposed limits on those individually. Heavy cruisers were limited to 15 with a total tonnage of, for Great Britain, with a total tonnage of 147,000 tons. The US having 18, totaling 180,000 tons. The Japanese having 12 at 108. For light cruisers, no specified limits were given except for tonnage, which was 143,000 tons for the US, 192,000 tons for Great Britain, and 100,000 tons for the Japanese. Destroyer tonnage was limited, with destroyers being defined as less than 1,850 tons and a gun not exceeding 5 inches. America and Britain were allowed to have 150,000 tons and the Japanese to have 105. An additional article in the London Naval Treaty had to do with submarine warfare, as an international law applied to them as surface vessels. Merchant vessels demonstrating a persistent refusal to stop or active resistance could be sunk without the ship's crew and passengers first being delivered to a place of safety. Basically, this meant if a civilian ship were for some reason armed and fired on a submarine, or was uh, refusing to yield, then it could be fired upon openly. Yeah, I did walk right into that one. It happens though. If you noticed, he didn't have a nifty little embroidered shield like I did. He actually had an emblem, which means he's a lot higher up the food chain than I ever have been. Navy and Somali pirates are a good example. Kinda, except for the pirates are actively attacking U.S. Navy vessels, or trying to anyway. This would be more like a German U-boat coming up on, say, a civilian freighter, which is literally what it applied to, and the civilian freighter opening fire on them, knowing they were a warship, or refusing to yield and be boarded for search and seizure purposes. Uh, this is also in part what led to the sinking of the Lusitania. We're going to take the Iowa out while we load it in. Let's see. Now, there was a group of ships that did not fall under the tonnage limitations. Um, this is kind of lengthy, so bear with me. Ships that were less than 2,000 tons with guns not exceeding 6 inches, with a maximum of 4 guns above 3 inches, without torpedoes, and not exceeding 20 knots were exempt from the tonnage limitations. Basically, your average everyday rowboat did not classify as a warship. However, leave it to every nation to try to exploit this. And some examples of those were the Bougainville class Avisios, which were French. Warships under 600 tons were completely exempt from everything, which led to creative attempts by the Italians with the Spica class torpedo boats, the Japanese Chidori class torpedo boats, the British Kingfisher class sloops. Um, so basically, anything they could try to come up with to put as much guns as they could on the smallest ship possible, they tried. Well, the outgun may be true, but A smaller ship does prove to be a harder target to hit on the open sea, and if it's moving at a high rate of speed, it can be virtually impossible to hit. But if you can utilize something to your advantage, such as taking, say, a 500-ton ship and outfitting it with a bunch of little bitty guns, and inflict death by 1,000 paper cuts, then why not try?
All stations requesting fire on the designated target.
Alright, this got ugly quick. Talk about your focus fire. All strategy. Yeah, that's basically what it boils down to. The whole point of these treaties was to basically mutually disarm each other, as well as prevent an arms race that not everybody could conduct on equal footing. There was no way that Japan would be able to produce ships at a rate that we could, or that, for that matter, even Great Britain. And if it came down to it,
Concentrate fire on the designated target.
to an all-out, arms race of who can build the most ships the fastest, it's going to end up being a mess, because there's going to be a lot of ships being built by countries that can build them, while everybody else is basically stuck. There's nothing they can do. Which is not a good spot to be in. And you can't defend your own shores. Ouch.
Main turret critically damaged.
Yeah, I saw that. Not sure where that came from, but not cool.
Problem solved, sir.
Oh, that could have gotten bad. Ouch. Stop that. I think that one's actually gonna get us. Yep. And that's gonna kill us. That was a heck of a shot. So the second London Naval Treaty which was basically an extension of the first London Naval Treaty. Japan had withdrew from, and so did Italy. So this was only between the UK, United States, and France. And basically, you had capital ships were restricted to 35,000 tons with 14-inch guns. However, there was provisions written in so that the United States could go ahead and go to 16-inch guns if Japan and Italy refused to sign, which of course they did, so you have 16-inch guns. Light cruisers became a restricted thing to 8,000 tons. Aircraft carriers were restricted to 23,000 tons total displacement. And they included a right for departure if limitations had to be exceeded for national security reasons. So during all this, the U.S. laid down what were known as the treaty battleships, which were the North Carolina, the South Dakota, and Iowa classes. With the North Carolinas originally being designed with 14-inch guns instead of 16-inch guns. It also put into place the submarine warfare international law called the Cruiser Rules to be applied to submarines as well as surface vessels, which states as follows: unarmed merchant vessels which did not demonstrate, quote, persistent refusal to stop or active resistance to visit or search, end quote, could not be sunk without the ship's crew and passengers first being delivered to a place of safety for which lifeboats did not qualify. So basically, you couldn't go ahead and just blow them out of the water without violating this treaty. You actually had to evacuate the crew, evacuate the passengers, etc., 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 before you could do it. This whole thing actually came into really heavy use during the Nuremberg trial of Karl Donitz after he ordered unrestricted submarine warfare against all ships in World War II. So the three treaties combined served to restrict warfare, restrict ships as much as possible without causing any kind of major arms race or anything like that. Um, yeah, just because I have to use this camo. Yes, that is olive drab camo. Arctic Circle. What? Elaborate, Scout. What do you mean by Arctic Circle? You're talking about the U-boat raids that were in the North Atlantic during World War II? Because the U-boat raids of World War II, that's what they were referencing there. Karl Donitz was actually okay. Yeah, he authorized. He was a brilliant submarine commander, by hands down. The guy was a genius, and that's even a recognized thing even to this day. But by basically saying unrestricted warfare, and the reason he did that was because of armed merchant vessels and stuff like that, he called it an unfair thing, so he authorized his men to use open warfare. If it moves and it doesn't have a German flag, you sink it. No questions asked. And that's why he was basically tried almost as a war criminal for authorizing that. When in part, he kinda was on that edge because a lot of merchant vessels were armed. And naturally, you're not going to, heave to and be boarded and have everything taken away from you. it did give them a chance, but it was kind of allowing the merchant vessels to even be armed was a dangerous thing, because you're giving them the ability to defend themselves, but you're also giving them the ability to provoke an attack. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, depending on how you want to look at it.
Anti-aircraft gun crews are on fire. Anti-aircraft gun crews are on normal alert. The system on fire. Problem solved, sir.
Ow.
The ship is on fire. Main turret critically damaged.
But those treaties all combined together, they were designed to prevent an arms race. They were basically designed to prevent a war at sea. Which we ended up with anyhow. Naturally, Japan pulling out did not help at all. Neither did Italy pulling out. Of course, Italy sided with Germany in World War II. Ouch. As did Japan. So they were good in theory. I think if everyone would have followed them, that the lay of the land would have been a lot different at the end of World War II. Or the beginning of World War II, rather. But when you start looking at it, maybe from, today's perspective, looking back, and you see how skewed everything was, you give a nation like, say, the USA, for example, you give us 5 ships, but then you tell another country that because they don't have the industrial might to compete with us, that they can only have 3 of equivalent ships. Then when something happens, all of a sudden there is this escalation of building, and they can't keep up with it. So I can see why Japan, backed out of the treaty. I can see why Italy wasn't thrilled. France being restricted by what they were allowed to have when they had shared a border with Germany. You know, it seemed like a good idea, and when you read it, it seems like a novel idea. But then you look at how World War II went, and also how many people actually violated it just blatantly. Which, if you've watched any of the other videos that I've put out in my naval history, almost every country at some point in time violated one or more of these treaties. Japan when they built the Yamato and Musashi. France when they built the Richelieu and the Dunkirk and the Jean Bart. Depending on how you look at it, technically, Great Britain violated it when they built the Nelson. Uh, but they were able because they basically claimed that certain parts of the ship were not actually part of the ship's structure or something. It's a long drawn out convoluted thing that I read that basically they were able to claim that their ships weren't over tonnage because not every part of the ship was considered a part of the main armor or something. And so everybody did it. Um, I mean, even the Cleveland class destroyers that we talked about the other night, as well as the um, Baltimore or Buffalo, one of the two. It was the Baltimore class heavy cruisers, both of which violated the Washington Naval Treaty. They were too big. So everybody did it. Um, that's why nothing like that is followed to this day. Um, they generally tend to just we basically agree not to kill each other. Is how it works today.
Roger. Concentrate fire on the enemy warship. Engine boost activated. All stations, concentrate fire on the target. Problem solved, sir. Smoke generator started. Well done, Commander. Much obliged, Commander. Total engine damage. Concentrate fire on the designated target. Attention. Reporting the target position.
Oh, you lucky bum. Oh well. We're having fun, that's all I care about. So, what are y'all's opinions of the naval treaties? Do you think they were good in theory and just poorly executed, or do you think they were properly executed and poorly theorized? Which do you think? All right. I think that if everybody would have followed it, yeah, you know what? I actually do agree with that. It was kind of poorly planned because to try to put a size limit on something, especially in weight, uh, I think they'd have been better off saying can't be over X length, X width, etc., or carry more than X guns would have been much easier because you could have the largest ship in the world with 10 of the smallest guns ever made. It's not gonna you're not gonna win a war with that. And of course, World War II made capital ships obsolete anyway. What are we doing, guys? Surprise! How did I know that pesky destroyer was there? Did I say both pesky destroyers? See, this is what cruisers do. You're not going to win a gunfight against a battleship by no means.
Reporting the position of a strategic target. Acknowledged.
But you won't bet these destroyers are going to try that same trick that we had last time. Only this time they're in for a little surprise. I have radar. I will see them. Ouch, if I live that long. That was an awfully big gun.
Get back!
One problem child gone.
Problem solved, sir.
That is the Thunderer doing all that damage. Okay. Give a little bit back to him.
Concentrate fire on the designated target.
What you gonna do, partner?
Enemy battleship detected.
Hi there. Did you forget about me? Well, he moved. There he is. We're getting into a place we don't want to be in. Yeah, saw that coming. Alright. Let's go back to port for a minute here. What's up, Snoop T? I haven't seen you in a hot minute. How you been, bud? Yeah, I kind of run into focus fire there. It happens. Let's see. Ain't one yet with the Fletcher tonight. We're gonna take the Fletcher back out. We're gonna try again. So, we kind of agree that the Washington Naval Treaty and the London Naval Treaties were not very well done for their intended purpose. They probably could have been done a lot better. Uh, Hindsight's always 2020, always. But hopefully, now that we live in a modern age, we'll never have to worry about that stuff again. And we learn from our mistakes. We learn from history. Go wrong with that. Bubba, to catch you up, we've been doing the Washington Naval Treaty and the London Naval Treaties while we've been running around doing ranked battles tonight and trying to sink ships and level up. How has your world been, good sir?
Acknowledged.
Nah, this quarantine stuff's for the birds. Not that it's affected all of us, but there are some people out there that would kill right now to just have human interaction. If you start playing, will I help you? Of course I will, Scout. Know that. You know what I mean? We've already got a relatively good setup going over here. As far as our naval yard. So, of course I'd help you out. I would help Bubba out too if he wanted to come join us. All are welcome. All are welcome. So I think we're going to take one more out. We're going to take the Montana out. We haven't done it all night. And might call it a night after that. Let's see. See how long I last first. In this, you have clans. Basically, you would join the clan LSD 49. Then we could do like division where you and I would be together or whatnot. So you have the option of being able to do that. I do not have a secondary flag on this. That must be changed. Montana is a good ship. I just haven't taken it out yet tonight with these ranked battles. I was actually holding it for like the big Hoorah finale, you know. We'll see what happens. No CVs. Nope, no CVs. Full of destroyers, though. Hey. I'm glad you like your IC Colas. Oh, I just noticed something. A friend of mine goes by the call sign Dead Arth, I think is how you say it. Is on. He's streaming Wild Hunt, Witcher 3. Maybe if I can figure out how to do it, we'll do a raid and we'll hit him after we get done here tonight. Not really sure how to do a raid, but we're going to try to figure it out.
Acknowledged.
look at there. Here, hold that for me.
Enemy cruiser detected.
Smack.
All forces, provide cover for that target.
Yep, and that's why we're turning around.
Enemy battleship sighted.
Way too much heat over there.
Enemy battleship detected. Enemy destroyer detected.
I see you hiding over.
Enemy cruiser detected.
Oh, goody. Incoming shells, incoming torpedoes. Awesome. Wow, our frame rate just tanked. What happened?
Enemy battleship sighted.
Sorry about that, everyone. We literally dropped to like 30 frames.
Problem solved, sir. Enemy cruiser detected. Our team has taken the lead.
That was crazy. Oh, ah, I tried. All right, well, we're gonna wait for the Montana to get out of battle before we close out. So while we wait for that, let's discuss the channel. As everybody knows, that I do World of Warships gameplay, and I'm thinking about increasing the nights that I do this on. We're still only going to do the history on one night a week, but I'm going to throw in a just for fun night during the week. So I take recommendations on that. I'm thinking probably like a Tuesday night, maybe. Say 8 to 10. We'll throw in a just for fun day. Uh, Everybody can hop in, chat. We can chat, hang out, and watch me sink ships. And if Scout gets going, we'll throw Scout in with us, and she can sink ships with us. As far as other changes in the near future, I believe Miss Scout and I are going to be branching out just a little bit to include Minecraft. Turns out Scout is quite the Minecraft entrepreneur. And has agreed to share that time with me. And I believe we're going to set that up probably on Sunday evenings, maybe. So that we don't interfere with other big schedules. But we will definitely be posting that when it gets a little closer. We got a couple little loose ends to tie up on that first. So next week, I believe we are going to try to go back to a ship type. And what I'm thinking is we're going to actually go talk about our new Italian stallions here that I have acquired. The Enritia, Eritrea, yeah. And the Nino Bixo. Bixo, yeah, whatever. My my Italian's a little rusty. We're gonna actually take them out this next week. We're gonna go over what they have, what they can do, and their history, and go from there. Don't tell Taz. Well, he's gonna find out eventually. I think Spider would be more heartbroken than Taz. No response. Alright. Because I cannot figure out how to do a raid. I'm sure there's a trick to it that I don't know. Can up in your search bar. It's XXD3ADX, the word Darth XX. That's a friend of mine. I'm gonna actually go jump on and hit him up. If you want to just follow me over there, you can. Anybody who is subscribed to me should be able to join me when I get over there. So, till next week, ladies and gentlemen, this is Locksmith 2K saying fair winds and following seas, and keep a weather eye on the horizon for our upcoming changes.